300 plus ICE agents rappelled from a helicopter hovering over a building in Chicago. These agents rappelled down onto the surface of the ceiling, the roof of the building, at which point they gained access to the building and rushed in and apprehended and took out of commission several very high-level drug traffickers. Wrong. This did not happen. This did not happen. But guess what? Newsweek says it happened. But Newsweek is quoting something like News Nation, which I don't even know what that is. And in this Newsweek article, they put a bunch of different things in there that don't even connect to the same event. They have a quote in there from Governor Pritzker, which doesn't even match it's all wrong. Okay, so right now, you guys are probably hitting my comments right now saying it's true. Let me just hold your little cheeks for a minute and tell you something, okay? Because I know this is very upsetting and I know that everything is on fire, including our own hair. You can see I had to put extra gel on mine today. So here's the thing. If they were able to pull off five of these officers rappelling out of a helicopter, they would have hired Hollywood to film it. And it would be a video right now that you would be watching. And somehow Trump would walk in the middle of it through smoke and fire. And come on, these are the people who do everything for the whole reason of a photo op. It didn't happen. What did happen was, and it's horrible. It's horrible. It just doesn't have the Hollywood effects that they say it did, because they're still mad about a guy on a bicycle in Chicago outmaneuvering and outrunning 10 ICE officers. They're still mad about that. So they had to create some kind of movie level 300 officers rappelling off of helicopters onto the roof of a building scenario, which is just ridiculous. Please do not fall for it. But what did happen, because we know with real reporting from local news services, WBEZ in Chicago, we do know that ICE officers did attack a building, knock down doors, and drag people out and zip tie them with no Miranda rights, no warrant, no due process, no nothing. As a matter of fact, one guy who was interviewed said, yeah, I was in my apartment, but I have a double lock and they couldn't get in, so I just went to bed. But other people that didn't have that kind of security, their doors got broken down and they got drug out into the cold, where they were wearing pajamas, shorts, maybe even nothing, with babies. This is untenable. We cannot accept this. Just in the same way that we should not accept bad journalism where they play the party line and make this regime seem like there's some kind of incredible military force. They are not. We see what they are doing. We saw them drag all the generals, and we see them wanting to have their own army. They want to have this ability to rappel out of a helicopter. They don't have it. They do have the ability to be bullies. They do have the ability to be extrajudicial outside of the law. And right now they're running with it. That is the truth. Unfortunately, that part is true. Now, Governor Pritzker saying, basically, I told you so, and this administration is going to go as far as they want. Really, where we're going, and it leads me to my first question, because I am answering your questions today, part 2. Oh, and by the way, talk about a dramatic entrance. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic medium. I'm a spirit navigator, and I channel my spirit guides and give you the news. I give you my take on the energy for entertainment purposes only, and allegedly just insert that in front of everything. But one of my first questions is really dovetails with this thing that happened in Chicago with Pritzker, because what is going to happen next, or I'm going to rephrase that, what has to happen next, and it's going to happen in a sort of starts and fits is what I'm getting. Okay, so I'd like to say that it's a full court press, that there's alignment with the governors and the mayors, but there's not. There's just not. This is still, one stands up, the other one sits down. It's very frustrating. Pritzker has done a great job of speaking out about this. He's done a really good job. As recently, he was the first person that I know of with a real political backing, as in governor leadership, to say this guy needs to be called out on the 25th Amendment, which is he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and he shouldn't be running our country. So I agree, I think Pritzker's doing a great job. Really and truly, he's doing a great job. But here's the next challenge. And you guys, I talked to you guys about this with Biden. You have to be willing to step into the power that you don't want to use. The guides gave you this scenario, and they're giving it to me to tell you again. Nobody wants to use this power. I get it. We don't want to be like them. I get it. I didn't put us here, right? I get it. I understand this, but we have to. If somebody breaks into your room and they have a gun and you have a gun, you have to use the power. It's you or them. I would say to you, we're at a place in our democracy, in the history of this United States of America, where it's us or them. And our leaders are going to have to step into that breach. They're going to have to step into that void of power and take it and say, no, I don't know what's going on in the federal government, but I'm going to use every right I have as a republic, as a state's rights advocate at this point, to protect my citizens. So if you come in to my town and you start arresting people, I'm going to start hassling you, right? Maybe I don't have rights against the federal government in this way, but I have rights to hassle you. I have rights to slow you down. My cops can pull in front of your, cars and stop you and ask for ID. There are ways to play this game. We have to play the game. We can't just lay down and say we can't do anything. These governors have to step into that, into the line and hold the line. Now, so this is also means mayors. You're going to see this again. It's going to be fits and starts. Maybe you'll see a mayor here, a governor there, a DA there. You're going to see it. But really, we kind of need a whole continuous front. We need everyone to step in together. That's the part that I don't see. But let's talk about your questions, because that's why you're here probably, right? So Bruce says, Californians are gathering signatures right now to place Secession. Do I say this word wrong? Secession initiative on the ballot. Do you see secession gaining traction in California or other states, be they red or blue? Will there be a soft secession in which states stop cooperating with the federal government in some way? Bruce, I absolutely do see this. And the guides have talked about this since last year. We've talked about states being the last line, holding the last line. We've talked about California joining Oregon and Washington. I mean, joining in what way, right? Then we talk about a soft secession, right? So maybe it's just a simple thing as if we're going to share our resources, right? So if ICE is attacking Oregon, California is going to send help. If you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. Like we're just helping each other out. Again, play the game against them. Oh, we're not doing that. You think we're doing that? No, we're not doing that. But we really are doing that. So I also see those states having trade pacts. Now, this is because of tariffs and other things, but I think that they could create a trade pact and then create a trade pact with China, Mexico, and Canada. If you think about it, blue states control the whole Western seaboard. That's connecting us also land to Mexico and Canada, and by sea to all of those shipping different destinations coming in. That's a powerhouse. As a matter of fact, that could shut the United States down in a way. Nobody wants to do this because, as I said in my last video, some of these things are punitive to our citizens. But the guides are showing me when you go on strike, in case you don't know, right? Like my dad, sheet metal worker, union, I came out the womb a Democrat and a union baby. Trust me when I say. Did I go without dinners because my dad was striking? Yes. Did I eat government peanut butter? Do you remember that? Government cheese? Maybe that's why I got a thing for cheese. Anyway, Yes, I did. I lived off of peanut butter and cheese for a couple of weeks one year. Okay, so I get it. Sometimes we have to do things that unfortunately hurt our families, hurt our citizens, but it's for the greater good. And I think in that way, if we can all get in line and say, I support this because I know the greater good is what's going to really be the reason for doing it. You know, Texas, I was in Texas for 30 years, and Texas talked about secession all the time, like they wanted to secede all the time from the United States government. So this is not a new concept, but it's new for Democrats to be talking about it. So that's interesting. So I do think that you're going to hear that word a lot in the next year, even in the next 2 years. It's not an idle threat. The guides are saying this is not an idle threat, but at the same time, I don't see it really passing. I think we have so many off ramps to, have consensus before we get there. But best believe that the word will be talked about. The ignition of that energy is here, and that is a warning, and it's not an idle threat. So I think in some ways, like trade pacts or, the states sort of working together more could really scare some of these Republicans, truly, because we know that the blue states pay more federal taxes than the red states. And without our money, they got nothing, right? So as the federal government starts to withdraw its help, maybe that's in partnership with the states. For instance, the federal government pays some portion of that state's Medicare, Medicaid. As that starts to be withdrawn and states have to step up and take care of that whole bill, they're going to find a way to give the government less money. I mean, I don't know how that's going to happen, and I think every state's going to do it differently. But let's just say that, yes, more power to the states, and that is the way forward in all ways, in all ways. LS, yes, says that they're concerned about our ELECTIONS. Yes, I've managed to keep my channel up all these years because I don't say certain words. We know they have been messed with. Can we demand an audit from the swing states? Okay, so I'm not sure if there's two things I think you're talking about here: going back and correcting what's wrong, and then worried about the future, right? I think as far as going back and correcting what's wrong, what I've always gotten my spirit guides, and I've always told you guys this, is that the American people, I know we're ready, but we're a small subset of the American people. They're not ready to hear this. And the robber barons need us to go to work. They need us to do the thing. We are the economic engine of this country. Period. End of story. Our money is what makes this country continue to hum and continue to pay those robber barons. So they need us to think everything's fine, nothing's going on. They want to keep the pressure on us. They don't want us to be fat and happy. They don't want us to retire. They don't want us to have good health care. I mean, they're not great people, but at the same time, they don't want us to think that there's reason for anarchy. So I think they're going to do everything they can to suppress that, to suppress whether the ELECTION was wrong or right. I think we've got 3 years before that comes out. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm reading energy, and people have free will, and anything can happen because as they push us, like we just talked about, as they push us into a corner, we will fight back. So at what point do Americans say that's enough? That is enough. At that point, you're going to see things move very rapidly, but I can't diagnose that. I can't tell you when that's going to happen because that depends on the people pushing us into the corner. Do they let off? When Trump disappears, JD is going to let off the gas pedal on the craziness for a minute, and we're going to all think, whew, we dodged a bullet. We did not, but we're going to relax. So they manipulate us, they gaslight us. Very hard to predict what's going to happen when someone is actively being manipulated and gaslit. Now, as far as going forward, I can answer that question, and I have answered that question for my longtime viewers. there's a couple of key points to keep in mind. First of all, the companies that operate these machines, and you have to be very careful about what you say now publicly. Please be careful. We shouldn't be out there shooting our mouths off. We should not. They're going to look for any reason to sue people and any reason to make an example of you. Doesn't matter if you're, Joe Blow or Jill Blow, they can make an example of you. Okay. So these machines, they realize that they are in potential danger of being criminally investigated. Maybe they had nothing to do with it. I don't think they did, but they don't want to be aiding and abetting. They don't want to have malfeasance through, neglect, right? They don't want to be criminally liable. So what I've seen is they've taken steps, and I've said this many, many times on this channel, they've taken steps to harden those connections in that software to the degree that if something happens in 2026, it will be very clearly that it was tampered with. There will be no, there was this backdoor that the machine had, that it was exacerbated, and then the company. No, there's not going to be any of that. It's going to be black and white. This was tampered with. Like the guides are showing me, if you've ever had any kind of medicine or even like a expensive item that you've bought, electronics, it has that Mylar reflective tape that if this is removed, this has been tampered with, and your warranty is null and void, right? This is what I'm seeing with these machines. I think the machines are going to be 89% trustworthy, maybe 85% trustworthy. Okay, margin of error, whatever that is, fine. We still have to deal with gerrymandering. We still have to do with suppression of people, and those are real things, and those do have a tremendous downward pressure on people trying to go out and do that thing. So will it be fair? No. Will it be challenged in new ways? Yes. By then, okay, so this is an important thing. So we just started talking about how states have to stand up. Governors have to stand up. They have to stand against the federal government. And the guides just showed me Abbott in Texas. Flip it back to when Biden was president. I don't know if you guys remember, but there's a river called the Rio Grande that separates Mexico and Texas. And Abbott took it upon himself to put razor wire in the Rio Grande. Yeah, see, this stuff has been going for a while. It's not just happened now. This was happening during Biden's term. And Abbott said, what are you going to do about it? And the government said, that's an international border. We control the international border, not you. And he said, what are you going to do about it? You remember there was a big brouhaha down at the border. The governor even disregarded the Supreme Court. Okay, again, they are overstepping their power, but we are sitting back playing the same game where we are saying we could not be like them. I'm telling you, we got to be like them. So how that matches, how that dovetails into the election is that by the time we get to 26 and we get to November, well, we're going to have a big, like a fire hose of this energy in our face. We are not going to be able to breathe. We're not going to be able to see. We're going to have to do something, right, to stop that fire hose. And we will, because we will make our leaders do it. So by the time you get to November 2026, everybody, our mayors, our AGs, our governors have rolled their sleeves up and have said, we're not playing with you. We're not playing with you. If you come down here and mess with our ELECTION, we're going to know about it and we're going to immediately arrest you. So I think the whole climate is going to change by November of 2026. It's going to be more, in some ways, it's more fraught because there's more fighting, but fighting within like states and the government, that kind of fighting. But at least we're stepping up and fighting back. So it's not peace. It's not, kumbaya, but it's also not, we're victims and we don't know what to do about it anymore. Instead, we're saying, okay, you want to do this? Well, we're a republic. You want to play with the Constitution? We'll play with the Constitution. We'll show you where our states' rights trump your rights, and then we'll just take our power. So I think that's going to help the ELECTI to win. Also, I think the turnout is going to be insane because right now, maybe we have a fire hose in our face and we can't see, hear, or think straight because we're trying to basically stay alive. By then, we will have taken that fire hose and shoved it where the sun doesn't shine. And we're going to be much more combative. We're going to be much more ready to fight. We're going to be much more ready to stand up for our rights. If they say boo, we're going to say boo back times 10. So there's just a whole different energy in November of 26 than there is now. A completely different sea change of energy. And I think that's going to benefit us getting a more fair chance. Of course, it's not going to be fair because there's all those things that have been baked in for decades with gerrymandering and all these things, but it's going to be more fair than the other people plan for it to be. Marjorie says, how long will the government shutdown last and who will cave first? Well, I think this could last. I think this has potential to last 3 weeks because the Republicans don't have any reason for it to end. If it ends, they get Epstein files. Congress goes back in and government starts running again. Justice starts moving again. The clock starts ticking. That's basically it. They just shut the clock off on justice. And so I think they're going to make the Democrats blink. And we talked about this. The guys are reminding me just now. I talked about how sometimes you have to sacrifice for the greater good. We talked about that just a few minutes ago. And that's what they're saying now is Democrats hopefully will be together. And messaging is the worst thing the Democrats do. If they could get the messaging out that, hey, I know this is bad, but the Republicans are doing this and this is what's happening, they just won't message to save their lives. It's the same thing. They won't step into the power that they need to be leaders. I don't know what it is, but I think it could go 3 weeks. My fear is that Schumer and Jeffries, being the respected leaders of their Congress, are going to capitulate to some kind of deal. I think the deal is that we do get some healthcare concessions, but it doesn't go back to where it was. So there's a loss. There's a net loss, is what the guides are saying. So the deal that they agreed to includes some loss of benefits. That's what I think is has the most energy to happen. I hope it doesn't, but it's like you said, who caves first? I feel like the Democrats will, because again, they see people suffering and they don't want people to suffer. But the bottom line is if people suffer and you point to the right person who's causing them to suffer, then those people can go to the person causing the suffering and, say something, get some kind of response. So that's what I think. I think we could be out 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, there's a little bit of energy right now about coming back. Like I think Johnson said he would call everybody back next week. There's energy around that, but it depends on back behind the scenes. If Johnson gets assurances from the Democrats that say we won't be bad boys and girls and call up about the Epstein files, or, if Johnson gets a deal, then we'll be back in a week. That's it. I can't predict exactly when because I don't know. I would like to tell you that Schumer and Jeffries will not capitulate, but I think they might. So, you hear Bernie, you hear AOC saying we're not ever going to capitulate. We're never going to vote for this. We're never going to vote for this. We'll shut this down forever. Frankly, who's going to blink? Are we going to let the bullies win again? That's the bottom line here, right? Esopus floater says, hello, I'm wondering if 45 and Heggie are planning something with the military for 10/18 protests, which I think is the No Kings protest. I not the military. Again, I don't see them being able to make the military show up on American soil and do something. My worry about what they could do with the military is they could take the military and send them to a foreign country. Now that could happen. And that would also not be correct, but that could happen. So when you ask, are they planning something? Well, of course they are. They want to, when I look at the energy, they see a tinderbox. I don't see a tinderbox, but they see a tinderbox because to them, the boogeyman is everywhere. They are so full of fear. They live on fear. They eat fear. That's their main emotion is fear. So what they see with 10/18, if that's No Kings, is the group of people that's a tinderbox, and they feel like if they throw a match in there, it'll blow up, and there'll be this huge riot, whatever, and then they can send in the helicopters and the dogs and no, nothing about dogs, but you understand that's what the guides just said to me, and the ICE and the SWAT teams and the federalized officers and the National Guard. So that's what they want. So that's why all of us keep saying, don't fall for it. Don't be violent, right? But I'll tell you, the guides just showed me way back in 2020, I think it was in Portland, there was all those terrible riots. I think you remember that. Maybe you don't, but you can find it online. Well, what happened then was there were provocateurs and saboteurs that were not part of BLM. They were not part of anything. They were provocateurs, all dressed in black, and they were the ones breaking windows. Other people who are peacefully protesting videoed that and proved that this is this dude. It's not us, right? This is an actual person who came here to create havoc, to make it look worse than it is. And this is what you guys need to be worried about on these protests, because you're going to have a lot of people show up. I think there's a lot of energy around this. And I think the astrology for 10/18 is pretty bonkers. Okay. So if you're going to go to this, I would just ask you to not be in the middle of the group. I would be on the edges at all times. I would never be in the middle where I couldn't get out or I could be trapped. I would be on the edges. I would know every single escape. I would have a hand printed, or draw it on your hand, a map of how to get out. Write down important phone numbers on your hand. I'm not saying that I sense some huge attack, but they're going to try to make it happen. And if they can make it happen, just the sheer chaos of everybody trying to leave is going to create more chaos. Okay. So this is what again, we started this whole thing out with the idea of the photo shoot, the Hollywood-esque making of this whole presidency. And this is what they want. If they can get a helicopter showing people fleeing and trampling each other and dogs biting people, I hate to say it, you guys, but this is the kind of thing that they chop up in a video, they send to their donors, and the cash registers roll. This is how they make their money. This is how they've always made their money. This is how the Republicans have always made their money. Push button on gay marriage, push button on trans, push button on Black people, on welfare queens, whatever you want to say, push the button, push the button. The racist open their wallets. Okay, so this is what they want, right? So I'm saying there's energy there, but I'm saying they need a spark to light that match. Don't let them light the match, and be wary and watchful of provocateurs who are in the crowd who start attacking police, because that's not going to be us. That's going to be somebody who's trying to draw them to strike back so that they can get all this going. And coulda, woulda, shoulda says, great question. she mentions, or they mention, HBCUs, and staff and students are still under threat. So HBCUs, historically Black colleges, universities, are still under attack. These kids are trying to get an education, right? They're going to college. And those institutions are getting bomb threats and getting attacked, okay? This is what I'm saying. Be careful. They're trying to provoke some sort of response. And if they can't provoke it, don't make it out of whole cloth. The same way that he made a fake assassination out of whole cloth so that he could get a picture, okay? Now are all the dots connecting for you guys, right? Be careful. Don't be a part of their game. Like in the beginning of this video, we talked about this news account with the helicopters. Don't play into that. Don't get caught up into the terror and pass it along and gin up everybody else's terror. When we're terrorized, that's what they want. You now have fallen prey to the exact thing that they want. So when you feel yourself having these outsized, uncontrollable fears, acknowledge them, turn off whatever device you're looking at. Turn it off, because I promise you, if you're reading a book, you're not going to feel like that, right? So this is your indication that you need to regulate yourself, because it doesn't help. Watching all that doom scrolling, you're not helping anything. It's not solving any problems. Sharing it is not making people know what's happening. It's actually feeding other people's terror. So we're not sharing it with people who don't know what's happening. The people we're sharing it with are seeing the same thing we're seeing, and we're all feeding each other's terror, right? So here's what you can do instead. Turn off the device. Take some deep breaths. Take a bath, take a shower, take a walk, go outside. Then think to myself, what can I do that would make myself feel better? What would make myself feel better? Maybe making some kind of dish or some kind of thing, or even just making a cup of tea. Maybe I want to just look into volunteering. I'm not ready to volunteer, but I just want to see what's out there. Because seeing that people are doing good things in your community is going to raise your vibration. Now, when we raise our vibrations, we're powerful. We're very powerful. That's why they're trying to keep us scared. That's why they're trying to keep us from going woke. Because woke means I know I have power. And I know that when I've had enough of how you're treating me, I'm going to go out and make my community better. And because my community's better, I'm doing something to help, right? So that's how you can combat this whole cycle of terror that they are steeping us in, the whole water hose, the fire hose of just anxiety that hits us right between our eyes and in our chest, right? Just be careful, right? And know that for every raid that's happening, there's a doctor somewhere giving free care in a clinic. There's a nurse somewhere giving free care in a clinic. There's somebody putting groceries in a bag at a food bank for someone who needs food. Why don't we know this? Why don't we have that kind of news? For every raid, there's just as many people who are helping people, right? I'm not saying the raids are good. I'm not saying don't be upset about it. I'm saying to give your whole energy over to it and to be terrorized by it takes you offline. Then you're not a needed person within your community, and they win. Because when our communities are empty, because we're all in our houses scared, they can walk right through our community and claim it. We don't want that. We can't have that. So please pay attention to how you're feeling and take those steps to make sure that you can manage those feelings as healthily as possible. Renee asked, and I've answered this question before, but plainclothes federal ICE agents are openly kidnapping non-criminal immigrants in public. Will these people be found and prosecuted once the regime is out for crimes against humanity? They're going to be prosecuted for worse than crimes against humanity. They're going to be prosecuted for murder. They're going to be prosecuted for kidnapping. The guides are saying open shut book. Those ICE agents will be hunted down. I see their own family turning them in. Remember, they just showed me Jan 6 when the kid turned his dad in. Yeah, Imagine that times 1,000, times 5,000, right? So this is going to be investigated on an order of magnitude that's going to make Jan 6 look like child's play. It's coming. They all deserve it. I'm sorry, every last one of them deserve it. Let's see. Okay, Sabine Magpie, happy late birthday. Your birthday was yesterday, I think. But whenever it was, happy birthday. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for your support through the years. Your question is about trans women and men. And I got to say, they are at the top of my list of people that I worry about. Truly. Brown people, anybody that's not white is at the top of my list. And then right under that is trans people. And I wish I could tell you that everything is going to be okay, or I wish I could give you some simple thing that trans people can do. There isn't any. It's the same thing if you're not white. You've got to take more precautions than you ever did. If you thought it was bad in the 80s, if you thought it was bad in the 90s, if you thought it was bad in the 60s, I have to tell you, this is a different time. In some ways, it's worse. Okay, it's just worse. Maybe because in the 60s, it was the local group that was doing the bad things, right? Well, now we have a government incentivized force doing the bad things with much more access. So I know you're saying you're not trans, but you have friends. I have family friends that are trans. I worry about them a lot. And I would just say to you, it's everything, the answer to everything, to all of our questions, the answer is community. If you are trans, please find friends, ask for friends. It's in your best interest. Okay, it's super important for you to make eye contact with people when you're out, to find out who's nodding and smiling and who's not. This is just where we are. Same thing if you're not white. Same thing. Same thing if you're LGBTQ, right? If you're LGBTQ and you look particularly androgynous and you're in the women's room, you could be attacked. This is not play. I think we have to really understand this makes the 80s and 90s look like a fun house, a playtime. And, I went to college in the 80s when the townies would come into the college and beat up all the punk kids, with the blue hair, and the gay kids and everybody who didn't look a certain way. They would just come through with baseball bats and beat the heck out of them. And this is in Houston. This is not a small town. This is in downtown Houston. So even given that situation, this is really potentially the same or worse. Okay. So I would just say we have community. We have to know that there are allies, and then us that are allies. If you're a white person, you're looking out, and especially men, you're looking out for women, you're looking out for other people, and you're going to get involved, right? If you don't feel like you can get involved, call 911. Let a police officer figure it out, right? Call the management. Get out your phone and video it from a safe place, right? It's not always the best thing to go get involved physically because, you can end up really being hurt. But do what you can from a safe distance. If the person is not being harassed at the moment, you can walk up to them and say, "Hey, I saw that. I'm sorry that happened to you." Community. We're human. They're trying to prove to us that we're not human. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make us not human. That's why they refer to people as rats and rodents and things like that. That's what the Nazis did. We're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to smile at people. We're going to say hello to people. We're going to acknowledge people, even if they don't look like you, even if they're from a different country or different nationality or race or religion. We're going to look at them and smile and say, "Hey, how you doing today?" Because that goes forever, making that person feel safe. You just don't have any idea. If you are a white person, you have no idea, I promise you. You don't know what it's like. So extend that friendliness, extend that help, because that's how it shows up. Okay, cool. This person is cool. If something goes down, they're going to help me. That's how we get through this. Not hiding in our houses, not going away from it, not hiding from them. That's what they want. They want us to be so terrorized that we hide from them. No, no, no. We're going to go out. We're going to go out to that farmer's market, to that coffee shop, to that art fair, to that sporting event. We're going to go out and we're going to look around and we're going to smile at people and we're going to let everybody know that we're one community. That's how we're going to get through this. That's how we're going to put a stop to this faster than anything else. Right there is in our own community. Okay. Let me do one more question here and I'll do some more things. Question is about, well, why don't we end this on a bang, right? Let's talk about the e-files. David says one of Mr. E's nieces came out on YouTube saying she was trafficked by her own parents and named a couple of Hollywood people who were having their way with her while she was drugged. Do you see more coming out and showing his whole family was and still involved? Yes, David, I do. Not only that, this energy is growing and growing and growing. And they can evade it. Like they just showed me E. Jean Carroll, I think is her name, right? They just showed me her because the guides predicted she would win, right? The guides said the energy's behind her. It's not just her, but it's all the victims in spirit. It's the energy is just literally amassing behind this energy. Now she won. She's having a hard time getting her victory, but it's not over yet. It is not over yet. They literally just, the guides are always using this example, but I just saw in the news where this woman was arrested because she had art that was from Jewish people that was stolen in her house that was for sale, listed on Zillow. And what happened is these people that track, this is what I'm saying, that it never sleeps. Justice never sleeps. We think it's dead. We think it's gone. Never sleeps. There are people who track this art. They find it on Zillow. They tell this woman, you need to get rid of this art. Her dad was a Nazi. You need to give this art back to its rightful owner. She says, no, I'm not going to do it. And when she said no, that was when she got into trouble and they arrested her and found even more art. So my point is with E. Jean Carroll and with these e-file victims is, and these justice that happens, 70, 80 years later, is that it never sleeps. This energy is building and building and building, just like this niece of Mr. E himself coming out and saying, I was trafficked. Okay, you're going to see more and more and more and more girls and boys coming out. I also see, I know, look, this is where the guys are taking me. P. Diddy is in jail, and I think he's going to go to prison, which is interesting because the black man goes to prison, but all the white men don't go to prison. So anyway, do with that what you will. But I think that you're going to see a lot more Hollywood people coming out, like maybe people like Justin Bieber, or maybe people that have been in Hollywood that have seen things or done things and are so disgusted at this point in their life that they've got to come clean with what they saw. Maybe they didn't do it. Maybe they were victims themselves. This energy once released. It's everywhere. It's not just going to be with the e-files. It's everywhere. I don't know about you guys, but on my social media, there are several people who have built very big channels that do nothing but publicize local men, usually 99.9% of the time they're white, who have been convicted or charged with pedo because the energy wants out. So this guy might be from Mississippi, might be from Utah, might be from Arizona, but now he's on blast on the whole world is looking at him, the whole world, because this energy refuses to be hidden anymore. These injustices refuse to be hidden anymore. The guides are showing me, imagine if you will, And I would take this in exactly the way they're saying it. Imagine, if you will, a graveyard, an unmarked graveyard with unknown people, their bones rising up out of the dirt and clacking and clamoring towards their abuser. This is what I'm saying. I've been saying this for a long time. The ancestors are behind this. The spirits are behind this. The ghosts are behind this. And they will do their part from the other side to encourage the living to step up, to give up their anonymity, to give up their comfortable position, to be able to speak their truth. So there's energies pushing and forcing and encouraging these people to come forth, and they will come forth. And I hope that we, the rest of us, encircle them and help them and comfort them and protect them, right? Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I will be doing more videos. I do these several times a week, so please subscribe, hit the notification bell, check your subscription, make sure you're still subscribed, because things are a little bit crazy these days. And if you'd like to know more about me, I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic medium, spirit navigator, and you can learn more about me at susanlynnmedium.com. You can learn about my classes. You can learn about my vibrant, supportive online community with over 5,000 people that are there every day, just like you, supporting each other. It's a private community. It's not on Meta. It's not on YouTube. It's completely private. I pay for it. Therefore, I have to charge for it. It's $12 a month. You also get 6 hours with me one-on-one every month there via Zoom. So this is a resource for you if you're interested in it. I have my 3rd annual Connect and Power event happening in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I think I have 2 tickets left for that. If you're interested in meeting me in person and meeting 5 other psychics, spending 3 days with people just like you, please check out my website, susanlynnmedium.com, and go to Connect to Empower. You'll learn everything you need to know then. It's November 13 through 15 this year. I would love to see you there. Take really, really good care of yourself. I'm irritated about what's happening. I'm certainly saddened about what's happening, but I'm not devastated. I feel like we've got a fighting chance. And I think the next level is fighting. We've been stunned. Truly, we've been stunned. But the next level is we're waking up to our anger, and we're going to push for reforms. We're going to push for our democratic leaders to step up and really stand for us. So I think action is going to make us feel better. I think we are not going to be violent. We're not going to be, causing problems, but I think we're going to be persistent. I think we're going to form groups that are very effective, and you're going to see them be very persistent and effective as we go into next year. And this is going to make all the difference in the midterms. Take really good care. I'll see you again really soon. For entertainment purposes only,